So just doing a test today, just for an inflation test. To do that, I built a thermal inflator using styrofoam sheets for insulative sheets. This is just a wide opening to kind of match the wide opening here to reduce the amount of air that's going to escape out, keeping it inflated longer. I'm using a hair dryer. It's going to get up to about, I believe, about 200 degrees. So not a whole lot, but enough to make it buoyant. Ready?
Yep.
Well, I think I got my measurements wrong. It's got a peak, so it's not quite a peak. You're not too close.
It'll come back down. So to fix that bulge in the top, I've cut apart the whole top of it. And then I'm just gonna bring in the sides a little bit closer together. So there's my first fixed one. It's got a little bit where it's a little bit shy at the top, but I think at least it'll be a lot closer. It won't have that bulge like it will on the top. Remove some material. So it's a bit of a pain, but I don't know. It's the price you pay to make it look more closer to a ball. It just bugged me too much to have that like bulge right on the top.
Oh, shoot. Well, that was a...
Oh no! What's wrong? It's hard to hold it.
Lift it up. I'm not expecting it to go that quick. Okay, hold it right there.
Oh no.
There's always something that happens.
Do you have
Wait,
tape?
let me see.
Do you want to turn it off and maybe try the taller one?
The only thing is watch with your foot because you're sticking to that plastic. Now we can't. You have to try to avoid touching the side. So just hold it above it. You're doing great, Rachel.
Coming down. Guys. Is the heat from that metal thing gonna melt?
Okay, Dad, you ready?
Yep.
Rotate this. 3, 2. Flush. Flush.
So getting it down was a little bit rougher than expected. Oh, the top, I could have pushed the next tier, but it kind of ripped open a little bit, trying to get it back. So it looks like most of this just kind of separated. There was a I mean, it's really hot in there. But once it caught a thing, it actually opened up a lot of the balloon itself. So I'm gonna have to repair this whole seam and then fix my top. And then the damage here at the bottom, this was kind of the first hole that opened up. It actually got a lot worse. So on the other side, yeah, so it melted a lot. The hot pipe touched, and then it kind of ripped a little bit. So that's what happens. So I do have some extra space blanket. So the next attempt is I'm gonna have to, before I can launch it again, is I need to go through and cut this part out, kind of do some repair work, fix the top, and then maybe figure out where I want to go from there. Okay, I just finished with my template. Hopefully my calculations are correct. Each gore is going to be 1.5 feet. There'll be 16 gores, so that should put it at 24 feet circumference. And then it's a little bit taller than 12, so that's a little bit off, but I'm going to be cutting off the bottom one a little bit. Okay, so my template is now done. It is over 12 feet long, so this is the longest project as far as gore length that I've done to date. I'm going to have to make 16 gores, so that's going to be a pain. Hopefully my math checks out, and we'll just see. So here we have my template, which I made out of cardboard. The template is about 12 feet long. If you notice the bulge, the widest part is, I got it right in the middle, versus my other ones that I normally do. So here you can see that the bulge is actually kind of more on the upper side, and that gives it more the teardrop. But by making the widest part right exactly in the middle of my template, that should be able to give it more of a ball when it's all taped together. To make my gores, I'm going to be using this Mylar rescue blanket, and I'm going to be using 16 of these. So here's my overlap
I'm using 1/4 of an inch.
Okay, so now from end to end, it is over 12 feet. I cut it in half and joined the two ends in the middle here, giving a 1/4 of an inch overlap. The next step is I'm ready for my template. So here I've lined up the top with the fold. I've done 4 folds over. And I've lined up the middle of my template to line right up with this middle seam. And then just at the very top, I made sure to go over 4 as well for my bottom. My template, I've marked my bottom because the top and bottom are symmetrical, but I've shaved down the bottom just a little bit for my hole. So on each gore, I'll be putting a dot and a V just so that way I know which way is bottom and keep it kind of consistent. Okay, time to mark the gore. Okay, and there's my gore outline. It's kind of hard to see because of the reflective material. There is a line out. So next, we cut it out. First gore is cut. 15 more to go. So I'm about halfway over, a little over halfway of attaching each gore to each other. I tried to lay down the material on top of each other. but I've decided to use my cardboard. It's a little heavier to kind of help keep that bottom one's shape. So on my original bottom one, I kind of have it underneath, and I've kind of laid each one. But that having my template underneath really helps maintain the shape, as this material Mylar blanket is really, really lightweight. Another thing I've been doing is I take these clips and have been trying to keep it a little organized. So I take the clips and kind of pinch the sides and kind of keep things together, just to kind of keep it from slumping over itself. So what I do is I take from my pile of gores and I kind of lay them out kind of one by one. After I fold them up and I put them over here to kind of line them up, I have to pay attention to which side my seal's on. So here you can kind of see that there's a little flap. So my flap I want to be in. And I kind of lay it out next to it. And then I go along the entire length. I kind of spread it out. Once I have it laid out, and I got my top and my bottom oriented, then I go along the whole length of it, and I just start making these little dots here. And these dots tell me how far in to overlap. It's very shiny, it's very metallic. If it was paper, normally you can kind of see through paper, and tissue paper is a lot more forgiving than this space blanket or Mylar. So I just once I get the top, it's, this is probably the most difficult, but once I get going, I probably space them apart probably every 2 inches. Is probably about what I do. And I go down the entire length of it. It's very time consuming, but what it does is it really makes sure that my overlap is uniform, so that way when I do the whole thing, it just kind of makes things look nice. And here's what it looks like. So I've just gone ahead and started it. It's a little bit hard to get going, but once you get going, here you can see my little dots I've got going. So when I straighten it out, I find my little dots, and I kind of just lift it up so it just barely covers, and then I lay it down. There will be some bunching when you put it down in some cases, because again, the tape is bending around a curve. So there will be sometimes a little bit of bunching, but overall, as long as it's mostly straight and covering, you just run it the whole way down. So now we're halfway done. Okay, all done. So the next step is I gotta find this tape point and I pull it back. I kind of line it up. Now this side's not as important to get it really lined up terribly well, but I just kind of pull it back here. And then I take the layer that the previous layer, and I pinch it, and I add it to my my clips, so that way it keeps it organized. And then I repeat. So here's the end, the very top. What I'm going to do is because I've made it a little bit bigger, I'm now going to make a cap for it. So here's the cap that I will begin to tape in, and I'm just going to tape it up to this line so that way the line's covered all the way around. To do that, I just took the diameter or the circumference of the top hole. That gave me the diameter, and then I made I kind of enlarged it by about a 1/2 inch, because I want a nice overlap. My comic balloon, the top actually opened up, and the weakest point was right at the top. I noticed for hot air balloons they also have a cap, so I think this will work out pretty nicely. And then I just made my inner center. So this is what I did as a template. And my ends here will go right up to the edge of this line. So the end, it's going to just be left with just this little circle at the top. And that'll be the top. And then I did, so my whole balloon then with this little tiny top all the way to the bottom will put me at 12 feet. So that gives me a circumference of 24 feet. And that means when fully inflated, this thing should be about 7.5 feet tall. So that'll be at least a good bit taller than I am. And one more thing. So because most tapes aren't very good with heat, I'm actually going to be using this flex tape. I'm going to be cutting little strips of it. And this stuff's pretty good because this is what they use on air ducts. So I'm hoping that will help, that it's designed to be able to resist the temperature, the high temperatures. Because my temperature inside the balloon was going to get to like over 400 degrees. So this will help hopefully hold it a little bit better. And now the top is complete. It was a little bit of a challenge. It's pretty easy at first to run around, but then I started running out of room with my fingers inside of it, trying to line up that line. So in the end, I just kind of folded it in half, kind of like I kind of just bowed it and lined it up and taped it. So that's it. It's a little bit heavier tape, so hopefully that won't be too much of an issue. Next, I have to finish the bottom. So on the bottom, because I started at the top and worked my way down, I was pretty close, but it kind of got off a little bit. So I'm gonna need to fit in something that's gonna keep this mouth open, so I can get it onto my thermal inflator easily. So next, I'm probably gonna make a hoop or something and attach it to that.